In this video, we'll be looking at sketching a cos graph with horizontal translations within this domain here. We can see that we have a horizontal translation here. If we let that inner bracket equal to 0, you can see that we have a horizontal translation of pi on 3 to the left. Because it is negative pi on 3. Just before we go out to sketch the graph, we also want to know the amplitude, which is 2. And the period as well, where n is equal to 3. So the period will be 2 pi on n, which is 2 pi on 3. Now just before we go out to our particular graph, let's go ahead and draw up our mini sketch here. Our mean line is at 0 because we are not translating up or down. However, our amplitude is still going to be 2, so up to 2, down to negative 2. We're going to look at our period now, which is 2 pi on 3, so 0 to 2 pi on 3. Split that in half, we get 2 pi on 6, which is the same as pi on 3. Split that in half again for our quarter increment, which is pi on 6. And then for our 3/4 increment, it's multiplied by 3, which we get a simplified version of pi on 2. Our graph here is a cos graph, and it is a positive cos graph. So we start at the very top, and we go down to the bottom and back up. Now remember, our first 2 points are what's important. But what's different this time is that we are going to subtract by pi on 3. Pi on 3 in this case, if we go 0 minus pi on 3, we'll end up at negative pi on 3. And if we subtract pi on 3 from pi on 6, pi on 6 minus pi on 3, that is equal to pi on 6 minus 2 pi on 6, gives us a value of negative pi on 6, like so. So these will correspond with these coordinates here, with these respective y values. And we will put these points on our graph first, and the pattern will therefore repeat. Our first coordinate will be negative pi on 3 and 2. So negative pi on 3 and 2, that's our first point. And our second point will be negative pi on 6 and 0. Negative pi on 6 and 0. And from there, our pattern continues on. So I'll draw this in first. Then our pattern continues for every increment. We go down to negative 2, back up to 0. At pi on 3, it's back up at 2. And we continue all the way until we reach our endpoint of 2 pi on 3. So we can sketch out all these increments here. And we also need to extend our graph using the same pattern to get to the other endpoint of negative 2 pi on 3. Once you've sketched your graph, don't forget to label in the endpoints. So we have negative 2 pi on 3, comma, negative 2. We have positive 2 pi on 3, and negative 2 again. And then we have our x and our y intercepts. So this one here is halfway between negative pi on 3 and 0, which is negative pi on 6. And you can count down here. Negative pi on 6, negative 2 pi on 6, negative 3 pi on 6, which is the same as negative pi on 2. I might write that negative again. Our first increment up here is pi on 6 for our x-intercept, and a symmetrical value over here, which will be pi on 2 in the positive side. Last but not least, endpoint x-intercept and y-intercept of 0 and negative 2. So 1 mark goes to our shape, 1 mark goes to our endpoints, and 1 mark goes to our axial intercepts.